I was all geared up for another weekend in Fredonia, Kansas. EFD 2023 had arrived, and this year I upgraded to a cargo camper so I could camp on the runway and hopefully survive the thunderstorms that we were about to encounter. I immediately ran into the sky as soon as I arrived, despite the weather not looking great. We already had a full runway of pilots, and it was only Wednesday. Rowdy air didn't let me get too close to the dam this year, but this eagle soaring through the gap would have been a tough act to follow anyway, so I admired the beauty from a distance. September will always be my favorite month for flying. Not only is it the month of EFD, but you finally get that crisp chill in the air, and it's always fun playing around with the local farmers in the field harvesting corn. I did a flag inspection up on the mound and took in the beauty of the Flint Hills before calling it a morning. I watched a hobbled Trevor Steele work on his trike game, proving that a passionate paramotor pilot will always find a way to get back in the sky. Another night with strong winds arrived, which made for some fun spot landings. The people of Fredonia came out to spectate, and I had a blast dropping these little parachute guys for the kids. Lone Star Paramotor even let them exchange their parachutes for prizes, which was a pretty cool touch. We continued our Pizza Hut tradition, and they played Top Gun 2 on a big screen at the hangar, before we all hunkered down for a good old-fashioned Midwest thunderstorm. This is where I was thankful that we upgraded from our measly little tent. Another day was spent exploring the surrounding area, and we were greeted with yet another evening of strong winds. Things didn't lay down for us until sunset, so I busted out the headlamp to ensure I got as much flying in as possible. The conditions weren't ideal for the majority of pilots, but I still managed to have a good time. Everyone on the ground gathered at the local Mexican restaurant for margaritas, so there was no shortage of fun either way. A dreary-looking forecast had people packing up and leaving a bit early, which was understandable but a little sad at the same time. I'd been camping next to my friend Jeremy, who I met at Endless Foot Drag a couple years ago, and we decided to hold out and brave the weather until the final day. We went for some high wind flying, which was pretty fun, especially since most of the crowd had cleared out and we had plenty of room to play around. There's just something extra satisfying about sticking a no-step landing. EFD looked like it was coming to an end, and we had one last morning of flying before we'd say our goodbyes until next year. Jeremy mentioned fog in the forecast, and also that he'd never flown above clouds before. And I had a good feeling that the pilots that did stick around were about to get a grand foggy finale. I peeked my head out of our trailer the following morning to confirm that there was in fact a nice layer of fog off in the distance. Anxious to get in the air, I quickly set things up and blasted off. The last couple of years at Endless Foot Drag, we received the best weather possible, and this year really hadn't lived up to the hype. But I think it's safe to say, this foggy morning saved the entire fly-in. I was really excited for Jeremy to hopefully get a taste of clouds for the first time, and I was clearly enjoying the first and only nil-wind flight of the event. I linked up with Jeremy just as the layer of fog began to lift, and the next thing I knew, we were floating over a sea of fluffy white clouds on our journey to the Fall River Lake. For me, this is what it's all about. I do most of my flying alone back home, and I was just happy to experience one of these legendary flights with a good friend that I knew was soaking it up and appreciating it to its fullest. So huge shout out to Jeremy for talking me into staying to the very end of the fly-in. After plenty of late nights chatting on the runway, there was honestly no better feeling than being reacquainted with so many flying friends from all over the country. I had the opportunity to meet a ton of new pilots this year, and it's always exciting hearing all of your stories. If you've followed my 2023 journey, between Baja, Iceland, and everything in between, I've accumulated a few wild stories of my own. And it really blew my mind just how many of you said you've been following along with my videos as well. I've always created these videos mainly for myself, but it's pretty special knowing others can relate and find inspiration in them as well, making them that much more worthwhile. We buzzed past a redneck water park and nearly got socked in above the clouds. Not a great situation to be in, but it definitely added to one incredible flight that I'm sure Jeremy and I will be talking about for years to come. As always, a huge shout out to the ground crew, my girlfriend Sam, all the air bosses that sacrificed their flying time for our safety, the town of Fredonia for always welcoming us, and to all the good people that come together in small town Kansas to share our one common interest, the art of flying a paramotor.